Hello, everybody, and welcome to another overview here of the Essentials of Social Media Marketing textbook. My name is Nick Matar, and today we're going to be going over marketing with LinkedIn. This is chapter 9. And if I had to pick one social network, social media platform that I am probably the most well-versed in, it would be LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has been around for a while. It is commonly referred to as the professional social network for professionals. It's been around for over 20 years and was acquired by Microsoft in the 20 teens, I believe, 2016. And since then, it's really taken off. Today, they claim to have more than 900 members and a couple hundred million monthly active users. And if you were to look at the demographics, the largest percentage are what we would consider to be young professionals. You don't see a ton of really like older, near retirement age professionals. And you actually don't see that many people that are in their 40s and 50s either, although that is a growing percentage. Rather, you see most people that use LinkedIn to really be in that prime adult social media, like middle of the road, younger millennials generation. And that is, according to Statista here, making up almost 60% of LinkedIn users. And to me, that was a little surprising because I would have figured that the older, this 35 to 54 year old demographic would have been a little bit more even, but I guess not. Now, if you scroll down a couple other things to look at, that there are a lot of people on LinkedIn in the United States, but that doesn't mean they're not everywhere else as well. And I probably get 3 to 5 connection requests per day, and about only one of those actually comes from the US. The others generally come from another country. Now, when it comes to marketing with LinkedIn, it's interesting to see it as an advertising platform, and we will go through the LinkedIn advertising a little bit here today. But LinkedIn is really just a B2B platform for advertising. There's really not a big use case on the consumer side, mainly because it is more expensive to run ads on LinkedIn, but then also people do not go onto LinkedIn to buy things, to look into e-commerce, and to be sold things. Rather, the best use case scenario for B2B on LinkedIn from an advertising standpoint is to provide some educational or creative content that will really drive some thinking, some value to their target audience. Now, Facebook, of course, is always going to be up here when you look at the leading paid social media platforms for anything. But it's really surprising to me to see LinkedIn just so high up here above all of the others. Now, when you think about LinkedIn members and like what causes people to connect and to engage with various things, whether that be a post or a person or wanting to do a comment, these are really your standard responses. The platform needs to be relevant. It needs to be educational or informative. It's got to keep you on top of your game. It's got to be inspiring, and it's got to be skill development and educational. So when you think about the content that companies should be sharing on LinkedIn, it falls really in this list here. For me, as somebody who's used LinkedIn for just about every reason under the sun over the last 5 to 6 years, I would say the educational stuff is really top of mind and number one for people. And having things that are educational, informative, skill developing, and even like I would consider this stay on top of the latest brands as an educational element as well. Those are really the things that people are there for. People don't go onto LinkedIn to see what people are up to. That's what Facebook and Instagram and the others are for. LinkedIn is but also keep in mind, LinkedIn's also not just used for getting jobs. For a while, I would say in the early 2010s, LinkedIn was really just used by people looking for a new job. Today, however, that's not the case. LinkedIn is much more of a professional marketing tool, and it's something that is a great place to go and learn a little bit about your industry. And if you've curated a list of connections that you know and trust, and that you don't have to personally know them, but you follow them where they're kind of like influencers in your industry from a professional standpoint, then you know that when you get to LinkedIn, you're going to learn something new. That really is the number one value proposition for people on LinkedIn, especially in that target audience of that 25 to 34 age group. So now let's talk about the LinkedIn profile a little bit. Um, they really in the text go into the company page more than anything else, which we will talk more about here too. The personal page that people like to that where you would have your own profile is important, and it is something to optimize and make sure that it's good, and take advantage of all the elements of it. But it's pretty easy to find other content on that. There's about 50 ways to put together a strong individual personal page on LinkedIn. Most people that are going to be watching this video already have a LinkedIn presence of some sort, so we're not going to go through the process of creating an account. I did find it interesting that the text didn't really dive into it here, but they do talk about this a little bit in the branding chapter earlier. So this chapter, however, in this section specifically, focuses on the company page. Now, let me start off by saying that a lot of the best practices that apply to the LinkedIn personal page does not apply to the company page. Case in point, you log into LinkedIn, you write a post on your own behalf. You talk about whatever it is that you're doing, and you put a link to an article that you found online that you thought was really interesting and inspiring and educational and all those things that we just saw in that bulleted list. You press publish. LinkedIn is immediately going to destroy any opportunity you have to reach a large number of people because you have a link in that post. If you didn't have a link in that post, you were probably better off. That you weren't going to you didn't include something without a link. That was an immediate red flag to the algorithm. LinkedIn doesn't want people to leave their website, so they penalize personal posts that have links in them. Now, LinkedIn has publicly come out and denied this, but I have seen now 3 years running multiple third-party groups, I should say, have tested this theory among hundreds and hundreds of posts being shared by individuals, and they all come back with the same results. You put a link into a LinkedIn post and you are going to get shot down. Now, on the flip side, on the company page, if you put a link in a company post, it doesn't matter whatsoever. It won't kill your reach. It won't, LinkedIn's not denying that it's bad. And really, I think it actually gives better credence to the company page and the profile that's posting it, because when you think about the value of a company page on LinkedIn, why would somebody follow a company page if they're not already an employee? Are they a future employee? Perhaps they'd like to someday work for the company. Do they trust in the product? Are they a good customer? Both very possible. But then what about the companies that have like hundreds of thousands of followers, or even a small business that has like 10,000 followers? How do they amass those followers? That's because people are finding the same value in that company page as they would in a personal page. When you think about why somebody would connect with you on LinkedIn or follow you on Twitter or whatever the social network is, generally they're connecting with you if they don't already know you because they have found value in what you have to say in your content. That's very much what has made so many of the general influencers in social media today so big, is that they are providing content that people really find enjoyable. When you think about value in social media, entertaining, motivating, inspiring, um, humorous, things like that, those types of ways to describe the effect that a post has on people, that is what leads to a follow and an engagement. And on LinkedIn, we really hone in on the educational aspect. I've been posting on company pages on LinkedIn for years. And the best strategy has always been, I've found, to post as much educational content, newsworthy content, relevant content as humanly possible. It should be related to what the company does, their industry, the things that they do on a regular basis. You could even connect the text of the post back to the company. as long as the content you're putting out there is providing some sort of education or new information to followers. When you think about Stukin, the publisher here, they have a pretty nice following on LinkedIn. I think this number has crossed the 4,000 mark, of course, since this was published. You would find that they do a pretty good job of sharing like third-party content and posts that aren't just about Stukent. But there was a time when Stukent would only do that, and as a result, their LinkedIn page really struggled to take off. Today, if you look at all these other pages that exist, and we'll get to the showcase pages in a minute, companies without a really heavy and thick employee following on LinkedIn are the ones that are really going to struggle, and the ones that need to put themselves out there and share a lot of good thought leadership content in order to get those connections. But at the same time, you want to think about the role of the company page and to decide, is it really worth it? Or am I better off using my personal page to push out these business leading thoughts? We'll revisit that in a minute. One other page I did want to mention is there is a sub page under the main company page, and that's the showcase page. These are pages that live under a parent page, and they're really helpful for an initiative, maybe a specific product, or if you think about it in higher education terms, a top level school or college, university, might have the primary page, and then the colleges within it, maybe the business school, might have their own showcase page underneath. This is becoming more common today. However, the showcase pages have only been around for a couple of years, and most colleges, if you want to keep going with that metaphor, or I guess example, have already created pages, regular pages. So there is a process where you can move one company page under another company page as a showcase. However, that requires some outreach to LinkedIn, providing some data, and really just proving to the business that your page deserves to live under the parent page of whatever that organization or business is. There are some other ones. There's product pages where you can share specific products. There's career pages where you can post actual jobs. Now, I do have an issue now with career pages, and this has been a big source of this has been something I've taken issue with, and that is, over the years, LinkedIn has always been a great place to go find a new job. There have always been hundreds and thousands of posts all the time. I do an annual employer jobs report where I look at remote entry-level digital marketing jobs, very niche, I know. And when I do that, I go through and I look at all the jobs. And I try to avoid the promoted jobs because I know that companies are just paying for those, and sometimes they don't really align with what I'm looking for. But then I did it this past summer, and it was just loaded with promoted posts. Like, everything was promoted. And I was a little concerned. Maybe I just clicked the filter that said, hey, this is just for promoted posts. But then a couple months later, I went in and posted my own job for something that I had. And after I received about 80 different applicants, I noticed that my job got paused. And I looked back and I saw LinkedIn automatically paused it. And I went to unpause. I was like, hey, put it back. And it wouldn't let me unpause it unless I paid for it. And lo and behold, I came to learn that, well, LinkedIn would never say this, that LinkedIn only lets you get a certain number of free applicants for a LinkedIn job post before they make you pay for it. They make you pay for it on a daily basis, and it is quite pricey to get more than a small handful of applicants. I used to get 300, 400 plus applicants for the jobs that I was hiring for back in the day, all through LinkedIn. It was so easy to connect with so many people, and I was really able to take advantage of it because you also could set up in your applications and your job postings that people, you could have a checkbox that starts check that people would follow your company page if they applied. As a result, I've got pages that I follow from years and years ago when I was applying to jobs, but I think I've gotten rid of most of them. But unfortunately, a career page has become pay to play. And I don't like that. It's completely taken LinkedIn out of the running as the best place to go find a new job. And I am interested to see where it goes from here because um, LinkedIn careers used to be a very big part of the platform. When LinkedIn first went live, and really until about 2015, 2016, um, that was the number one thing. You had it all over the place. It was primarily listed right up on the menu, and you saw people posting about it all the time. Now today, it seems that the focus has shifted. It is no longer about careers. It's no longer about getting jobs, which is fine. I understand that. Rather, it's more about the education, the information, and networking and connecting, although many times it happens with fake people. So let's go back to the company update really quick. When you have a LinkedIn company page, you can post as if you are a regular person. Here is an example of what Sukant the publisher has done in recent years. They say the best practice is 150 characters or fewer, but more recent data has come out to actually suggest that posts on LinkedIn should actually be way longer, that they should actually be more than 1,000 characters. And the reason for this is the algorithm. Go back to the algorithm. When you think about a LinkedIn feed, generally you look at it and you end up with the classic see more. If you click on see more, you can see the rest of the person's post and read more about what it is that they're talking about. And generally, that read more would happen right around where this heart is. It'd be a read more, and then all of these things would be underneath the scroll, or the fold, I guess you would call it. But more the new research has come out showing that the algorithm has really given uh, preferential treatment to the see more. That the by clicking the see more, which is always over here, you end up reaching a lot more people. And because LinkedIn takes clicking on the see more button as a really good level of engagement, because if you click see more, you want to read the rest of the posts. You don't want to scroll by. Something caught your eye in the first 3 lines. And I've tried to avoid see more for a long time, and I've seen some posts that are clearly clickbait, right? People talking about like, I got fired today, space, 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 space. And sure, that's sad, but then it turned into this long diatribe about something else, looking for work. And I can't help but to think that people are just searching for clout when they do that. So for me, I don't think 150 characters or fewer is the best practice. I am very much of the mind that the longer the post, even on a company page, the better. Not saying it should be boring, not saying it should be, out of date, but that's really kind of what you want to strive for. There's some other things in here, call to action links if you want one. Images, you can upload images to LinkedIn posts. You can share posts. You can post videos natively. One thing I will say, and this was also true from the other social networks I think I mentioned, if you put a YouTube link in any social media post, you're going to get crushed. The platform will not deliver your video to anybody. You'll see 5-10% of the normal engagement that you would expect if you put a link to YouTube. And again, that is because they want native content on their site. They don't want people to leave. They want people to use their own video player, like what you see here on the screenshot. So, word to the wise, don't ever post a link to YouTube on LinkedIn. A way around it, if you do have a video on LinkedIn or on YouTube, I would embed the video on your website and then link to your website instead. That way, LinkedIn's not going to, they might know that, and I'm sure they'll eventually have sophisticated enough tools to take that down. But as of now, in 2023, it works. So, just going by, there's polls, there's live and events, all that good stuff. Some tips on how to leverage LinkedIn Live, which I like. There's not a lot of live going on right now. And then there's notes on the LinkedIn algorithm. I personally think that this is fairly outdated. I don't think it's too important. I do think these ones at the bottom are good. Post things that encourage conversations. Okay, duh. Be relevant, but not too broad. Okay, that's fine. The LinkedIn content strategy is interesting though. The posting relevant content is important. the industry tips and news. I mean, this all just supports what I've been saying before, that people are looking for educational information. They want to learn how to do their jobs better. That's really what this entire section is about. Posting different types of content is important. And actually, see this one here, SlideShare presentations. You can publish and post on LinkedIn a presentation format style upload, and it will do really well. If you speak at an event, if you have a PowerPoint presentation that you delivered to a boss that doesn't have proprietary data or something, you can try uploading it to LinkedIn and just see the types of engagement that you'll get from it. I would argue that the most successful post I've ever done personally on LinkedIn was a slideshow that I did from a session that I talked at. And the reason being is that every time somebody looks at the next slide, which is very easy to do, and most people want to do it, LinkedIn counts that as an engagement, and the algorithm will help deliver your post to more people. So if we keep moving, don't keep post short. So let's just spend a couple quick minutes on LinkedIn advertising. LinkedIn's targeting and advertising is some of the most specific and the strongest, because all of LinkedIn's data is user generated. If you think about it, I want to go after people that have 10 years or more of professional experience. LinkedIn has that. You fill that in when you create an account. Now you have to update it every now and then. LinkedIn's not going to automatically update your age for you. And actually, fun fact, LinkedIn doesn't actually track age. They only track jobs, work, and extracurriculars. Sorry about that delay. When you look more a little bit further into the LinkedIn advertising platform, you'll also see, though, that it's much more expensive. And on Facebook, you think about, you could run an ad for 10 cents a click, and that might not even be considered that great, because you can get it so low. Unfortunately, these days we're looking at anywhere from $2 to $5 per click on LinkedIn. And it's rough because, especially in the B2B world, you don't see the payoff of a lead for feasibly months. And on the other side of the floor, there was an ad that was launched that had no real goal. It was just kind of a brand awareness play. And while that was fine, the impression numbers are still going to be really, really, really low. So there's a lot of different types of ads here. You can actually install a lead generation form directly onto LinkedIn, which is cool. And really, that's it. I'm just keeping scrolling down here. This is what the LinkedIn Campaign Manager looks like. It still looks like this today. It's pretty tutorial. You look at money spent, the impressions, clicks, click-through rate, things like that. I would not directly compare LinkedIn advertising to any of the other big social networks, though. And the reason that being is because, one, the higher cost, but then two, there is not quite the same level of advertising consumption on LinkedIn as there are on other channels. And that is that there aren't as many ads running out there. And most of them actually do really poorly, because most do not actually post the stuff that people want to see. You'll see people posting stuff about openings and apartment buildings, or people opening, a company that's just trying to share some white paper. And those are fine. But at the same time, people aren't on LinkedIn to do that. It's kind of like what the story is with the other advertising channels with social, and why it's what kind of irks me is that people don't go onto social media to be bombarded with ads. They go on social media to do a targeted thing. And LinkedIn ads will get some clicks, of course. You might even get a piece of business out of it. But in terms of a scalable long-term success, LinkedIn advertising just really isn't there. Yeah, but I mean, that's really about it. LinkedIn is probably my favorite social media platform right now. I personally use my personal profile way more than any company profile. And that is really because I can better manage clients and things around me. Namely, I use Google Analytics. And so the fact that I am kind of right in the middle of it for just for LinkedIn in general, and being able to track acquisition data. It's very easy to do. You know how much traffic you get to your website from LinkedIn, for example. But also I've noticed, and I've gotten, and I know this because the person told me. Um, it's easy to actually make some money off of your LinkedIn profile, because if you post at the right time and it gets seen by the right person, and they're like, "Oh, I've actually been looking for somebody who does this." It's like what you do. It can lead to a very lucrative opportunity. So that'll be for another day. But for now, hopefully you learned a little bit about LinkedIn, the professional social network, and I look forward to talking to you soon for the next chapter.